Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time for Final Oscar Predictions for nominations. It is time. The Oscar nominations are coming up on Tuesday, I believe. There's a lot that's been going on since I did my last Oscar predictions video with Brother Bro from the Oscar Expert channel, which you can check out right now. And if you want to stay up to date on my Oscar predictions, you can check me out at the Hannahcast on Brother Bro's app, Award Expert, which has just recently come on to the Play Store. This is not a promotion. I just think this is actually a really good app, and it doesn't constantly crash on me like Gold Derby does. Regardless, let's talk about Best Picture, because oh boy, the top two have not changed since I did my last predictions. Now, granted, there was a brief period of time around the Critics' Choice nominations where I said Barbie was number 2 for Best Picture, but then that pretty much amounted to nothing. And granted, it did win Original Screenplay at Critics' Choice, and so you could say that, but at the same time, it really hasn't been winning a lot of other above-the-line things, and even then, like, Barbie wasn't competing in adapted screenplay like it now is. And that's another thing that's changed since my last Oscar predictions video. Barbie has now been confirmed to be in adapted screenplay and not original screenplay, exactly as I said it would. I said it would not be an original screenplay. I said it would be an adapted screenplay. I got that right. So, but Critics' Choice came and went. Barbie didn't really do all that well. Like, I thought, like, considering it smashed the record for the most Critics' Choice Awards nominations, I would have, with like 18, I would assume it would win Best Picture at Critics' Choice, but it didn't. It was still Oppenheimer. But there was one big surprise that happened, and that was Paul Giamatti winning Best Lead Actor at Critics' Choice. That was big. That was unexpected, because I thought he was like maybe number 3 to win. I didn't think he would actually be number 2 over Bradley Cooper at this point. Yeah. And not only that, Alexander Payne has gotten nominated not just at the Directors Guild of America Awards, but he also just secured a nomination at BAFTA over Greta Gerwig and Martin Scorsese, which is insane, because, like, he surely could not have been a jury pick, could he? So, like, what in the world's happening? And also, even though he didn't get nominated anywhere else, Dominic Sessa finally got a nomination at BAFTA. So what does this tell me? The Holdovers maybe didn't start off very strong, but it's climbing up. Like, The Holdovers is climbing up, and I think it's regained that number 2 spot that I've been suggesting it would be. Right now, I'm still saying Oppenheimer's number 1, but if The Holdovers continues this kind of streak, like, let's say, because obviously Divine Joy Randolph is winning Best Lead Actress. All right, let's say, no, not lead actress, supporting actress. Let's say Divine Joy Randolph is winning Best Supporting Actress, which she is, considering, you know, she is sweeping, and she will probably sweep. I will even say that she probably takes BAFTA as well. I'm not just going to randomly predict an Emily Blunt win. However, the fact, like, if at BAFTA, if The Holdovers manages to win original screenplay over Anatomy of a Fall, I think that's going to say... Also, I forgot to mention this. The Holdovers also got nominated for Best Film at BAFTA. Something I did get right, and that a lot of people didn't see coming. I did predict The Holdovers would get nominated for Best Film at BAFTA, because I'm starting to think, you know, again, it's rising up. It seems to be having a moment. And so I think that might be really helping The Holdovers right now. If it can win original screenplay at BAFTA, like, that's already showing some big strengths. And if it manages to win PGA, it's over. Like, Paul Giamatti doesn't even have to win lead actor at SAG, and yet if it won Best Picture at Producers Guild and original screenplay at BAFTA, it's so over. It's over. Like, Oppenheimer is not going to be winning Best Picture if that happens. Because I know there is the argument that The Holdovers isn't really doing anything socially relevant, but I don't think that really matters, especially if we're talking about something on a preferential ballot. Like, if you're thinking about social relevancy, how is that going to translate on a preferential ballot? Like, that's what I'm wondering. Oppenheimer might have the most number ones, but I don't. I have yet to see. I've yet to see really anyone who, at bare minimum, does not even like The Holdovers. Even people who are willing to criticize Alexander Payne and criticize him being nominated for director, even they will say The Holdovers itself is still a phenomenal film. So, to say that The Holdovers does not even have a chance, I think is kind of insane. Because it absolutely has a chance. Again, Paul Giamatti winning Critics' Choice lead actor out of nowhere. Dominic Sessa getting his first nomination at BAFTA right before the Oscar nominations. Alexander Payne climbing up in the Best Director race. How is The Holdovers not number 2? Because what's the alternative? Barbie's getting nominated for a lot of awards, but it's not winning anything significant. And I mean, great. Again, yeah, it won screenplay at Critics' Choice, but do you think it's really going to win original screenplay at the BAFTAs? And we don't have Writers Guild. We don't have the Writers Guild Awards to look at. So what are we, like, we can't really say it's going to win anything there. And even then, it's not even like a Moonlight situation, because with Moonlight, you know, it was competing initially in original screenplay everywhere else, but then at the Oscars, it was competing in adapted screenplay. But with Moonlight's case, with the original screenplay category, it was competing, it was in a more competitive category. So when it managed to beat La La Land and Manchester by the Sea at the Writers Guild, that showed some unprecedented strength for the film. But Barbie is almost the exact opposite. In original screenplay, it has a better shot to win because it's not really competing against a whole lot. But now it's being put in adapted screenplay when you have things like Oppenheimer, Poor Things, American Fiction, potentially Killers of the Flower Moon, although even then I have some doubts on that. And I think, did I say Poor Things? I don't know if I said Poor Things, but still, Poor Things. It's in a way more competitive category, and I don't know if it's going to be able to survive that in terms of wins. So I do think Barbie could potentially be number 3 if it somehow manages to get, but again, I don't know what it would need. It would probably then again, if it won PGA, would that be enough? Like, it would need to win, like, pretty much everything at SAG, like lead actress, supporting actor, ensemble cast, and stunts, like stunt ensemble. It would have to, like, perform unbelievably well at SAG to, like, the insane degree, and it would have to take PGA for me to believe it's going to win Best Picture, because I don't think it's going to win anything at BAFTA. I mean, if it does manage to get some good awards at BAFTA, great, like, because it didn't even get nominated for Best Film there, but even then, I don't think it's going to beat The Holdovers in an original screenplay at the BAFTAs, or even Anatomy of a Fall. I think at BAFTA, I think original screenplay, the big race is between Holdovers and Anatomy of a Fall. And Poor Things, it's either going to win lead actress for Emma Stone, or it's going to walk away with nothing. Like, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to win screenplay. Like, there are just too many films above it that I can imagine. So I can't really say that the film really has any chance at Best Picture right now. And then we get to number 5 and number 6. And that is Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest. I was doubting Anatomy of a Fall for the longest time. It seems like people just do not care. It is like so... I already knew The Zone of Interest was going to do strong. I didn't think it was going to do this strong. I didn't think Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest were going to get nominated at PGA. PGA! They never nominate international films. They never nominate non-English language films. They never do that. And yet they did it for Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest? Over films like Spider-Verse, The Color Purple, and Air? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's absolutely nuts. So the fact that they actually managed to get in that awards ceremony, again, is just showing unprecedented strength. I didn't think this would actually happen. Like, because I said, again, I wasn't really predicting Anatomy of a Fall officially in videos up until now, but I was like, Zone of Interest, all it needs is BAFTA, and that's all I need to be, that's all I need for me to be convinced that's happening. But then, ironically enough, it didn't get nominated for Best Film at BAFTA, despite getting, like 9 nominations. Like, it got nominated for pretty much everything except Best Film, which is kind of crazy. But the fact that it managed to get the Golden Globes nomination for drama and PGA, it's like, okay, well, how is it not in? Like, oh my god. So there's that. Killers of the Flower Moon. Why do I have this at number 7 and not higher? Somehow I feel like it's starting to become weaker. I mean, there's no real reason why BAFTA should not... There's no real... like, something like Barbie, or let's say, Top Gun Maverick, I can see why those movies didn't perform extraordinarily well at the BAFTAs. I can see that. There's no real reason why Killers of the Flower Moon should have missed. There's no real... Actually, no. Killers of the Flower Moon technically didn't miss Best Film, but it missed some key nominations, including Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. They chose American Fiction over Killers of the Flower Moon. That, again, that is too major for me to ignore. And we'll discuss that later on. I still think it's going to get nominated for quite a few awards, and obviously Best Picture, I mean, it's still going to be nominated here. But the fact that it's, like, kind of dying down in hype, I feel like I'm going to keep my eye out for that. Past Lives, I knew it wasn't going to do BAFTA, so there's that. I knew it wasn't going to make it at BAFTA. I'm not really too concerned. American Fiction, I feel, honestly, this top 10, I'm going to round it out with American Fiction and Maestro. I would be kind of shocked if this was not our 10. And it's kind of weird that we've kind of come to this point where it's like, oh, wait, we weren't expecting Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest to make it at PGA. So it's like, is this just going to be normal? Is this just going to be our 10 nominated for Best Picture? Because I don't know what would get in, and I don't know what would be bumped out. I guess technically I have Origin at number 11, because there's like some sort of grassroots campaign for this film, and it did get nominated at USC Scripter, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Something is happening. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's not happening. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what's happening with Origin. But I've been seeing a lot of celebrities buzzing about it online, and it's like, I'm going to keep my eye out. Because, like, The Color Purple, I mean, that film just absolutely died for no reason. Like, it got pretty strong reviews, but, like, the only place it got nominated in for Best Picture was Critics' Choice. And even then, it kind of underperformed in nominations. So it's like, can I really say, actually, no, I can't say The Color Purple is happening. And even, because, like, and people will go, well, it did get nominated for SAG Ensemble. Yes, but when you actually look at the nominations it got the bare minimum. Danielle Brooks, which everyone nominated her, and then nothing else other than SAG Ensemble. If they really wanted to go out on The Color Purple and actually make me believe that that's actually performing well at SAG, then they would have nominated Fantasia Barrino. Like, why didn't they do that? Beats me. So, with that being said, the fact that it underperformed in nominations, I'm like, okay, so The Color Purple is House of Gucci. It's Babylon. It's Bombshell. It's that movie that is like, oh, wait, that's strange. Why is that here? And you start to realize, at least post-Oscar nominations, it was nothing. It was that 5th slot at SAG Ensemble that doesn't really amount to anything. That doesn't really become anything later in the Oscars. And same thing with, also I forgot to mention, Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, hell, like, Bombshell performed better than The Color Purple. House of Gucci performed better than The Color Purple. So why is it missing? So why is it not getting other nominations at SAG? I'm concerned. Saltburn, I have at number 13. I don't know if it's really happening. It's probably not. Actually, it's again, if anything got into the top 10 and something was taken out, I'd be really shocked. But Saltburn, I don't know. Like, there's some buzz around it, like with the Oscar ballot, the anonymous Oscar ballots that are happening. But I don't know. I don't know if I really buy it. So there's that. All of Us Strangers, no. Air, no. May December. Again, it's so strange how locked up this top 10 feels. It feels really locked up, and I don't know if I feel safe in that. It feels too safe. But I don't know what the alternative is. So there's that. Best Director. Man, this hasn't really changed since the last time I did my predictions video, if I'm not mistaken. I have Christopher Nolan at number 1. Jonathan Glazer at number 2 for The Zone of Interest. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things at number 3. Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. And at number 5, Alexander Payne for The Holdovers. And yes, I am saying Greta Gerwig is getting snubbed for Barbie. I don't want it to happen. I don't. Like, of all of Greta Gerwig's films, I feel like Barbie was, like, her clearest, most, like, directorial, like, vision. Because stuff like Lady Bird and Little Women, I wouldn't have nominated her for Best Director for those, because, I don't know, they felt more like screenplay-driven movies rather than, like, a full-on director's vision. But Barbie was certainly a director's vision if I ever saw one. Like, Barbie was absolutely astonishing what she was able to accomplish there. But the fact of the matter is, the director's branch is going to director's branch, and they are a bit more traditional and, you know, artsy when it comes to their director picks. And so, like, you know, for example, you know, and even then, like, big spectacle films, they are willing to snub those in favor of something else. Like, you know, Dune. They snubbed Dune, they snubbed Inception, they snubbed Avatar: The Way of Water, they snubbed All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, I will say, because Greta Gerwig and Martin Scorsese missed out at the BAFTAs. I'm wondering if Martin Scorsese could actually maybe be snubbed over Greta Gerwig. That would be absolutely insane. But actually, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to put Martin Scorsese at number 5. I still think, at least, you know, as you can see, I still have him nominated. But however, I don't think this race is between Alexander Payne and Greta Gerwig. I feel like this race is between Greta Gerwig and Martin Scorsese. They both missed out at BAFTA, which granted, Yorgos Lanthimos also did, but I don't see him. I don't know. I can just imagine, like what if Marty actually got snubbed at the Oscars? That would be absolutely nuts. Again, I'm not putting him in the top 5, but I feel like if anyone's vulnerable, like, he could be, like, it could be him. It could be a big shock where everyone's like, you didn't nominate Marty? Like, honestly, that might happen. I'm not saying it is, but that could happen. It could. Because I can't see why, you know, again, why Killers of the Flower Moon would miss so many, like, above-the-line nominations at BAFTA. Because, again, it's not like a typical film that the BAFTAs would just snub anyway. Like, it's not Barbie. It's not Top Gun. It's like, there's another reason why they didn't go out for this film. Like, there must be some other reason. Like, again, maybe it's just dying in hype. Or people are just wanting to go with other kind of riskier films. I don't know. But man, you know, yeah. I'm saying if anyone's vulnerable, it's Marty. But if that doesn't happen, and we do just get this 5, then you're definitely going to see a bunch of outrage, because there wouldn't be any women in director this year, even though there's a lot of films that would be very much deserving to be, like, a lot of women deserving to be nominated here. And there are some people that are trying to say, oh, but the director's branch might not want to nominate Alexander Payne because of his controversies. I'm like, his controversies, bro. They nominated Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge, and his controversies were way more widely publicized and well known and infamous than Alexander Payne's controversies. If they didn't care about Mel Gibson, why would they care about Alexander Payne here? Like, why would they care? You have to be insane to think that they would not nominate Alexander Payne because of his controversies. They don't care. If they went for Mel Gibson, they'll go for Alexander Payne. But regardless, I think Greta Gerwig is still number 6. Again, she might get in, but I don't think she will. And if she were to get in over anybody, I'd probably say it'd be Marty. So yeah. Bradley Cooper in Maestro performed a little bit better than I thought he would. He got Golden Globe and Critics' Choice, which I expected, but the fact that he made it to BAFTA, again, that was shocking. Like, that was very shocking. I don't know if he was a jury save or not. Like, the jury has been so kind of strange in recent years at the BAFTA, so I don't know. Celine Song in Past Lives, I have her in because, she got into the Globes, but again, if she got in at DGA, I'd very much consider her for a nomination, but she didn't get that, so I'm just like, all right, well, she's just not happening. And then Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. I don't think that's the kind of film that would get nominated for director at the Oscars, especially since she's kind of a newcomer. I do think the international director would be Jonathan Glazer, even though he's really, like, just in the UK. So it's like, but still. Lead actress. This has also been kind of like a big shift. I don't know. You're probably wondering, why do you have Lily Gladstone at number 1? She didn't even get nominated at BAFTA. True. And, like, there's a very good chance that she might not get nominated. No, that she might not win over Emma Stone. But we do have to remember, SAG does come last this year. And if the SAG Awards really, like, have like a big passion for Lily Gladstone, then there's a good chance they could actually take the Oscar. Because at the Golden Globes, let's face it, Lily Gladstone gave a really, really good speech. And it's not like their performance was undeserving. They were incredible in the film. In Killers of the Flower Moon. So, I just want to see what SAG does. If SAG does go for Lily Gladstone, I still will say that they're getting nominated. If they still lose to Emma Stone, then yeah, it's absolutely over. It's just tough. It really, really is tough. I don't know what's going to happen. Either way, I still think it's a battle of the Stones. One that I'm shocked I have in the top 3. Margot Robbie for Barbie. Not that I don't think she's, like, undeserving or anything. Like, she's actually a lot better in Barbie than I think a lot of people are giving her credit for. But even I will say, from a predicting perspective, I didn't think she would actually happen like this. I didn't think she'd be this strong. Because she got Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG, and BAFTA. She got everything she needs to be nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars. And some people are going to say, what about Viola Davis and The Woman King? Well, I don't think that really works here because, like, The Woman King was nowhere near being, like, an actual Best Picture nominee. Barbie is top 5 for Best Picture. So, if Margot Robbie were to lose out on lead actress, that would be kind of shocking. Because, again, even the BAFTAs went for her. Which, again, the fact that she swept this hard. And another actress who swept so hard is Carey Mulligan in Maestro. I was willing to, like, maybe try to take her out in favor of Greta Lee for Past Lives, but, like, again, she's in a Best Picture nominee, and she's gotten everything. Everything she needs. So I'm just like, can I really deny her? Can I really deny her at this point? No, I can't. And then Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, sure, she didn't get the SAG award, but at the same time, guess who did? Over her. Annette Bening and Nyad, and I'm absolutely not predicting her for the Oscar nomination. Because, like, I know I'll get to Nyad a little bit later on in supporting actress, but absolutely not. I'm not buying into the Nyad hype. Sandra Hüller's going to be nominated for the Oscar. And I think that will mean that Greta Lee is not getting nominated for Past Lives. And the weird thing is, I said, like, all Greta Lee would need would be Golden Globe and Critics' Choice for me to predict her. But that was before it was very, very apparent that Margot Robbie was going to be sweeping nominations for Barbie. Like, not even just in these 4 major precursors, but even in the critic circles, she's been getting a ton of nominations. So it's like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I guess Greta Lee is out. And no matter who it is that is snubbed out of lead actress in favor of Greta Lee, I'd be shocked. I would be shocked because I don't who do you take out? Because regardless, you're going to have to take out someone that gets a lot of nominations. Because your top 3 in terms of nominations are Emma Stone, Margot Robbie, and Carey Mulligan, getting all 4, and they're all in Best Picture nominated. Hell, all 5 of them are in Best Picture nominated films, and so is Greta Lee, but she has less nominations than both Sandra Hüller and Lily Gladstone. So it's like, who gets snubbed? Like it would have, again, no, like for Greta Lee to get in, it would have to be an unbelievable snub for that to happen. So, really, I don't know how it's not this top 5 right here. And then you have, number 7, Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. Sure, she got Golden Globe, I think Critics' Choice, and I think she got BAFTA. Wait, let me see if she got Critics' Choice. Wait, no. Fantasia Barrino did not get Best Actress at the Critics' Choice Awards. Alright. So she's only got Golden Globe and BAFTA, and I can only assume that in BAFTA she was a jury save. And at Critics' Choice, keep in mind, she was competing in the comedy musical category, which was significantly less, whenever you divide the acting categories into drama and musical comedy, that's already gonna kind of make things go, alright, so I can probably, it kind of makes sense why she would show up here. But if they didn't have drama and Best Picture, drama and comedy musical categories, if they didn't have that kind of distinction at Critics' Choice, at the Golden Globes, would Fantasia Barrino have still gotten in? I don't think so. So I'm going to go in with the assumption that Fantasia Barrino is just not happening. Again, other possibilities, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, I'm only putting her in here because Origin is kind of surging a bit. Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla, Natalie Portman for May December. They both got Golden Globes nominations. And then Annette Bening for Nyad. I have to put in here because she got in the Golden Globes and SAG. But again, Nyad is not happening. I said this before the precursors and I'm saying it now. We're being gaslit. It's not happening. Don't believe it's happening. Do not believe it. So yeah, lead actor. Good God. It is a 2-horse race, and I didn't think it would be this race. It's not Bradley Cooper versus versus Cillian Murphy. Oops, gotta fix this. Alright, fixed it. God, why did I not have that fixed? I hate that. Regardless, alright. It is a race between Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. That's what it is. Bradley Cooper has not won anything, and unless he were to make a big shock at BAFTA or SAG, at which point we would not really know what's going on. But right now, it is a battle between Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti did win at Critics' Choice. However, I don't know if that's going to actually win the Oscar. I don't know. Even if Holdovers does win Best Picture, I don't know if Paul Giamatti wins Best Actor or not. I don't think he does. Because, I don't know, it just doesn't sound like the kind of Oscar-winning performance that they usually go for. Something like Cillian Murphy and Oppenheimer would fit the bill. Now, granted, I also said that about Bradley Cooper, but no one's been going for him. But Cillian Murphy, if if he does win for Oppenheimer, I think obviously, well, that does say some good things about the film. That does help Oppenheimer's chances in getting the win for Best Picture. But even then, I think even if, let's say, Paul Giamatti won SAG and Cillian Murphy won at BAFTA, I still think Cillian Murphy would take it. Because I don't think Paul Giamatti's narrative would be like Brendan Fraser's, or even then his performance wasn't as emotional and earth shattering as Brendan Fraser's was. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. But still, and honestly, I'm kind of like the fact that even Coleman Domingo, got everything he needs. Like, he's gotten nominated everywhere. Is kind of surprising. I thought he would, not show up somewhere, but he just got all 4. Now, you're probably wondering, why do I have Leonardo DiCaprio in instead of Jeffrey Wright? I don't know. Granted, I've still not seen American Fiction, but from everything I could find, any of the clips I could find, nothing about the performance really seems like Oscar driven. I don't know if he has a big emotional scene or not. Whereas with Leonardo DiCaprio, I mean, he's doing his typical great Leonardo DiCaprio stuff, and some people are gonna be saying, he's already great. Why are we predicting him for another nomination? Because he's Leonardo DiCaprio. What can I say? I mean, yeah, he did miss SAG and he did miss BAFTA, but I don't know if that's going to sway me all that much. Because I just don't know how strong of an acting player American Fiction really is. I don't know. I don't know about that. So I do still think Leonardo DiCaprio gets in. Other possible contenders, Barry Keoghan for Saltburn. That would be kind of a big surprise if he got in. Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers. He didn't get in at BAFTA, so I'm not going to put much stock into predicting a nomination for him here. And then Teo Yu for Past Lives and putting him in here because, he got the BAFTA nomination. Really glad about that. I don't think it's repeating at the Oscars. So there's that. Supporting actress. Really fascinating because there's a ton of ways this could actually go. For one, Divine Joy Randolph, she's just going to win. She's going to sweep everywhere. I don't even think Emily Blunt takes the BAFTA. I think it's still going to go to Divine Joy Randolph. But Emily Blunt, also very strong. She's gotten nominated everywhere. And another person I'm kind of surprised got nominated everywhere despite the film itself being weak, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. She's very, very strong here. But I thought, she's my personal winner, but I don't think she's winning this. Then there's the last two, which a lot of people may say, actually, a lot of people might be, are kind of going back and forth. A lot of people are going for Jodie Foster for Nyad. And I've been saying, don't be fooled. I said she's probably going to get a few nominations, but I'm telling you, Nyad is not an Oscar nomination kind of film. It's just not. Unless you were talking about maybe makeup, but even then it didn't get shortlisted for makeup. So the performances in Nyad are just not worthy of being nominated for Oscars. And there's no real way I feel like you could really defend that. It's not in Best Picture at all, so it has that going against it. Jodie Foster and Annette Bening, mainly Jodie Foster, she's not going to win. She's not winning any of these awards. So it's let's just take it at face value, all right? She's not a sweeper, and her film is not in Best Picture. And even then, there are other performances that, again, on paper, are and just seem way more realistic to happen. For example, Penelope Cruz in Ferrari. I've always said, from everything I've been hearing about Ferrari, people are saying Ferrari, Penelope Cruz is really fiery and emotional in that film. And granted, she got nominated somewhere I wasn't expecting. I was expecting her to get nominated at the BAFTAs or the Golden Globes, but she didn't show up at either. And yet she ended up getting nominated at SAG. That means I feel like because of that, there is some kind of passion for her in Ferrari. Because again, everything I've been hearing, her performance is very explosive, which is good. Whereas in Naiad, which I have seen, it's not that kind of performance. It's not that kind of an emotional performance. And then Sandra Hüller for The Zone of Interest. I feel like she's going to be just doing just fine because The Zone of Interest is going to be very strong in Best Picture. And I'm currently predicting it for 10 nominations, which is kind of insane for a film like this. And again, there's not really a whole lot of other competition. So, because you have America Ferrera for Barbie, which maybe she happens. I could see maybe that happening because again, the film is very strong in Best Picture, and she did give a very strong speech at the Critics' Choice Awards. So you can maybe imagine people going, "Oh, well, I want her to win for this." Rosamund Pike for Saltburn, she did get the Golden Globe nomination and the BAFTA nomination. I don't know if that's going to happen though. I have Cara Jade Myers for Killers of the Flower Moon because, even though the Killers of the Flower Moon did not perform all that well at the BAFTAs, she still got longlisted, which is very interesting. The fact that she got longlisted makes me step back and go, all right, what's happening with this film? What's happening with her? Because why would they go for her of all people? So, that's what I'm thinking. And number 9, I'll have Jodie Foster for Naiad, but again, I'm telling people, it's not happening. It's just not going to happen. We are being gaslit. Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG, they are gaslighting us. I knew that Jodie Foster was going to get nominated at the Golden Globes and SAG. I saw that coming from a mile away. I didn't expect Critics' Choice, but still, that's right after the Golden Globe nomination. So it's you can sort of see that kind of pattern. I just never bought into her hype. I saw Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, and SAG coming a mile away. So I just do not think she's happening. Julianne Moore for May December. I don't think she's happening, but just putting it out there. And then Rachel McAdams for Are You There, Gods Me, Margaret. Not really happening. Again, just putting it out there. Supporting actor. This is interesting. Robert Downey Jr., I thought it was going to be a race between him and Ryan Gosling. It's not even a race. Robert Downey Jr. is just going to take it. He's just straight up taking it. So yeah, it's just going to be a complete sweep. Ryan Gosling, I think he's safe for a nomination. He's my personal winner, but he's not going to win this. It's going to be Downey Jr., which I'm not going to complain. Again, Robert Downey Jr. is phenomenal in Oppenheimer. So it's A1, AB. It's or I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Just great performances. The one I'm kind of shocked is really locked in at this point is Robert De Niro. At every chance we got, everyone, I was saying, he's gonna get the golden, he might get the Golden Globe, but he might not. He gets the Golden Globe. I don't know if he gets Critics' Choice. Actually, no, I think I did predict him for Critics' Choice, but I thought Critics' Choice was gonna be the one thing he got. But then I was I don't know about SAG. He gets nominated at SAG. I don't know about BAFTA. He gets nominated at BAFTA. Again, he's so the fact that he's number 3 in terms of nominations. It's okay, well, again, how does he not get nominated at this point? I would be very, very shocked if he missed. Because, hell, the fact that he's technically stronger than Lily Gladstone is insane. He of all people, man, he's, strong. So, yeah. Then I have Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, although, admittedly, it's kind of tough to say which Poor Things boy is getting in, whether it's Mark Ruffalo or Willem Dafoe, because they both got nominated at the Golden Globes. Mark Ruffalo only was the only nominee at Critics' Choice. Willem Dafoe was the only nominee at SAG, and then neither got nominated at BAFTA. That's not really helpful for us, is it? I'm going for Mark Ruffalo because I feel like he would probably make them again. Well, great. I've not seen Poor Things, but however, I don't know. I feel like they'd more likely go for him than Willem Dafoe. But then again, I don't know. Like, Willem Dafoe does have more nominations, and people are trying to say, oh, maybe this is like a Paul Dano and Judd Hirsch situation, or a Katrina Balfe and Judi Dench situation where like the older actor gets nominated. I don't know if it's like that though, because Mark Ruffalo has a couple of nominations under his belt. He has a couple of nominations. He's whereas with Paul Dano, or Dano, I think it is, Paul Dano doesn't have anything. Like, he doesn't have any Oscar nominations, and neither did Katrina Balfe. Or Jamie Dornan. So it's like, is it really safe to say that, Mark Ruffalo is like, if he's comparable to them? Because I don't think he is. He is at this point. Like, he has 2 nominations. So I don't think it's that I don't think it's equivalent to him being those 2. And I do think he gets nominated over Willem Dafoe, although maybe Willem Dafoe does happen. I don't know. But the one that I've been saying, and admittedly for a while I gave up hope on the Award Expert app, but I feel vindicated now because Dominic Sessa is coming for that nomination. He is just coming for it. Because even though he missed the Golden Globes, he missed Critics' Choice, he missed SAG, he still made BAFTA, and not only that, the holdovers kind of overperformed at BAFTA. So, again, with that mindset of, the holdovers is kind of gearing up to be a bigger contender than we think, I think Dominic Sessa gets nominated. And I think that also means Charles Melton is not happening. I always had this feeling about Charles Melton, where it's like, even when I did barely have him in my predictions in December, even then I was saying, I'm not confident. I'm not confident in that. I feel like something's going to happen where he misses out. And sure enough, he's missing out. Because it always kind of felt like he was going to be a critic's pick. But then out of nowhere, Dominic Sessa comes in and is embraced by the industry. So I feel like that's happening. And I just have Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction because he got, Critics' Choice and SAG. I don't really know who would get in at this point over any of these 8. I honestly don't know. So, yeah. Original screenplay. This is interesting. I'm back, for a while I was saying, with Anatomy of a Fall winning at the Golden Globes, I was like, clearly Anatomy of a Fall is winning original screenplay at the Oscars. But, again, the holdovers is, kind of surging, and it's kind of made me go, all right, maybe the holdovers is winning after all. Because, it was kind of confusing as to whether or not it was going to be Past Lives or if it was going to be Anatomy of a Fall. But again, holdovers is having a moment right now. It's kind of surging. It's, again, overperformed at the BAFTAs. So it's making me think, all right, if it truly is going to be back being number 2 for Best Picture, that means I have to say that it's winning Best Original Screenplay. Although, again, if Anatomy of a Fall wins at BAFTA, I think it's over for the holdovers. Because we don't have the Writers Guild to look forward to, so there's that. Past Lives, securely nominated. It's going to be secure. It's not going to win, but it's securely in. Maestro, I've been saying Maestro's probably going to get nominated for original screenplay. And since especially now that Barbie's gone, I have to assume that Maestro is in. And this is probably going to shock a lot of people, but I'm putting in Air. I'm putting Air in for original screenplay. Granted, I have taken it out of Best Picture. Its Best Picture chances are completely dead. But screenplay is still on the table because let's look at the competition. Saltburn, maybe, there is some buzz for this movie, but I don't know. I feel like the Oscars would find Saltburn too weird. So yeah. And the fact that the BAFTAs did not even nominate Saltburn for original screenplay. Like, they could have done it. They could have nominated Saltburn for original screenplay, because they nominated it for a bunch of other awards, but they didn't. And it's making me think Air is going to get that nomination. I feel like it's a very generally agreeable movie. It is very accessible. It's on Amazon, and Amazon has been campaigning it quite a bit. And I feel like this would be the film's lone nomination. So, yeah. May, December, I don't know. A lot of people are probably going to be putting this in their predictions, but I feel like, especially now, May, December has kind of shown itself to be a critic's favorite rather than an industry favorite. So, yeah. Asteroid City, no. Iron Claw, no. I don't even know why I'm considering them at this point. It's like, but then again, I don't know. Because, like, The French Dispatch did get nominated at the Writers Guild Awards that year, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if you could say that, this year is more competitive or not. But right now, I think Air gets that 5th slot. Adapted screenplay. This is where my big hypothetical from that I kind of suggested with my predictions with Brother Bro. I think Killers of the Flower Moon might get subbed for adapted screenplay. Because if you remember, I kind of came up with this kind of weird scenario where, I was very confident in Barbie getting nominated for, getting pushed to adapted screenplay, which everyone called me crazy for. But then that happened. All right. And then I was thinking, well, all right, well, is American Fiction really going to be strong in Best Picture then? Because if, because I've always been saying The Zone of Interest could get into adapted screenplay. Like, everyone, like, even with Barbie in, I was like, don't be so sure that it can't get a nomination here. Because though many people might try to equate it to 1917 or All Quiet on the Western Front or something like that, where it's like, wait, why would the screenplays of those movies stand out? Because it's the richness of the screenplay is probably not in the dialogue. It's probably in how the screenplay describes the world, how it describes what's happening. Because you read the screenplays for 1917 and All Quiet on the Western Front, they do an amazing job describing what you're supposed to see. And I feel like that's very important for a screenplay. Like, not just to have very good dialogue, but if a screenplay can actually put you in that world and actually you draw a picture in your mind as to what's happening, then that's a sign of a really, really good screenplay. Because it's being descriptive enough to immerse you into the world without even having seen it. And I have a feeling that might be what The Zone of Interest is trying to do. Again, I have not read the screenplay. Granted, I've not even seen the movie, so that I'd be kind of spoiling myself. But I'm kind of putting my mindset there because I can see that happening. So I've been saying The Zone of Interest could be stronger in screenplay. But all right, let's say American Fiction is but the thing is, if I were to take out American Fiction. If I were to take that out of Best Adapted Screenplay, then I have to take it out of Best Picture, because what other nominations would it get? Like, what other nominations would American Fiction get if it can't even get screenplay, which is probably the one thing that it needs? And so then I was like, all right, I was thinking, fine, what are the BAFTAs going to do? Are the BAFTAs going to snub American Fiction? Because they could. It seems like, it kind of seems like that kind of Barbie, Top Gun, Maverick kind of film where it's like mainly kind of American and stuff. And not even like, something like a Killers of the Flower Moon, but it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like something that's very of the American pop culture zeitgeist. Like that kind of stuff. The BAFTAs still nominated American Fiction for adapted screenplay. They still went for it. And it's not a juried category. It's not like the acting categories or the directing category. It is just a regular, just a good old-fashioned category where the people in that branch nominate the nominees. And they still went for American Fiction. And they snubbed Killers of the Flower Moon. And in that predictions video with Justin, I came up with that exact scenario where What if Barbie is put into adapted screenplay and, alright, let's say American Fiction is still in. What do you snub? Because Oppenheimer, I don't think you can snub because it is the Best Picture frontrunner. And the screenplay is actually really, really freaking good. So you can't snub that. Poor Things, alright, Poor Things is still pretty strong in screenplay. And again, it might do very well at BAFTA. So then you're kind of left with Killers of the Flower Moon. And I remember Justin, and I'm not holding him again. I'm not it's just fun prediction stuff. So don't. He said, "Yeah, I can't even entertain that idea. I can't even imagine something like that happening, where so many of those hoops are being jumped. Where Barbie's an adapted. You want to get American Fiction into screenplay? All right, what do you take out? You take out Killers of the Flower Moon, so that you can also put in The Zone of Interest. And we might be headed there right now. That actually might be a reality. My crazy theory, a game theory, that might actually happen. Because why would the BAFTAs nominate American Fiction over Killers of the Flower Moon unless this industry is not really all that thrilled with Killers of the Flower Moon? At least in some aspects. Why would it miss under those circumstances? Especially, the fact that The Zone of Interest and American Fiction... even then, with The Zone of Interest, you could argue that with BAFTA, sure, it was a British film. But they also did not nominate it for Best Film. And they still nominated Killers of the Flower Moon above it. Which, keep in mind, Best Film is also not a juried category. So it's like, why would they nominate Killers of the Flower Moon for Best Film over The Zone of Interest, and yet The Zone of Interest gets into adapted screenplay over Killers of the Flower Moon? It's so strange. It's such a strange set of circumstances. So, I don't think All of Us Strangers is going to get into adapted screenplay here. I don't think that's going to get into here. And we know Barbie is going to get into adapted screenplay here. So, again, I'm kind of thinking Killers of the Flower Moon is going to get snubbed. That might actually just happen. And now you're probably wondering, why do I have Oppenheimer at number 1? It didn't win at Critics' Choice. Sure. Critics' Choice, however, is very hit or miss when it comes to the screenplay categories. Sure, they got both of them right last year, but the year before that, I think they only got Belfast right. Because adapted screenplay went to The Power of the Dog. Whereas in Critics' Choice, at the Oscars, they gave it to Coda. The previous year, Promising Young Woman, sure, that won original screenplay at Critics' Choice. And it won at the Oscars. But at Critics' Choice, adapted screenplay went to Nomadland, and yet at the Oscars, they gave it to The Father. Previous year, none of them got it right. Because original screenplay at Critics' Choice went to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and adapted screenplay went to Little Women, and yet at the Oscars, original went to Parasite, and then adapted went to Jojo Rabbit. And then the previous year before that, First Reformed won original screenplay at Critics' Choice, and If Beale Street Could Talk won adapted screenplay, and then at the Oscars, original screenplay went to Green Book, and adapted went to Black Klansman. And then, so it's so strange because it's the Critics' Choice Awards are so hit or miss when it comes to the screenplay categories. So, American Fiction might win, but then again, I don't know if it does, because we don't have the Writers Guild Awards this year to help guide that path. And because of that, I feel like Oppenheimer might just win BAFTA, and it could just win adapted screenplay at the Oscars for that. And, because one thing I've also been considering is how many wins I've been predicting Oppenheimer to get. And it's at one point, it was I think it was 8 nominations. And I was like, well, if you're going to give a movie 8 nominations, you might as well give it, no, not 8. If you're going to give the movie 8 Oscars, you might as well throw in 9. Because, it's such a huge juggernaut at that point. It's such a huge juggernaut to where how is adapted screenplay not even considered? So I don't think it's number 4 like a lot of people do think. I think Oppenheimer probably stands a very good chance to win because, again, you look at the goal, you look at the BAFTA nominations. Barbie's not there, and I don't think Barbie's winning original screenplay at the BAFTAs either. So it's like you kind of have to take Barbie out. All right, is American Fiction really going to win or adapted screenplay at the BAFTAs? I don't think so. So, again, I still have it at number 2 because it did win Critics' Choice, but I don't know. Is Poor Things going to win adapted screenplay there? Well, the fact that that Yorgo Lanthimos did not even get nominated for director at the BAFTAs, again, is very strange, considering especially since that is a British movie. So, I don't know. I just think it might just be Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer just might be winning way more Oscars than people think. And then the Zone of Interest, I already explained why. So, but even then, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Killers of the Flower Moon does make it to adapted screenplay here. Who knows? But outside of that top 6, I don't know what could possibly get in. I've taken out Spider-Verse because that's dead. At number 7, I have Origin because it did get nominated at the USC Scripter Awards. And that is kind of big. All of Us Strangers, it got the BAFTA. And then Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret got Critics' Choice. And I'm pretty sure it might get the Writers Guild Award. But again, that's not the kind of film that gets nominated for Oscars. So, I don't know. It really is between that 6. And again, I'm thinking that crazy-ass scenario that I came up with might actually happen here. Where Barbie gets in, and American Fiction, and the Zone of Interest, and all of the cost of Killers of the Flower Moon. So, yeah. Cinematography. This is also where I'm taking a big swing here. I'm not even sure if I'm confident in this one, but we'll have to see. Oppenheimer is just going to win. Bing, bang, boom, whatever. Poor Things. I have it at number 2. These two are unbelievably safe. The Zone of Interest, I think, is also going to get nominated. I've been saying it's going to get nominated for a while now. But then, oh wow, probably one of the biggest curveballs this award season. El Conde got into the ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers. If you remember, back in my December predictions, I was like, oh no, I think everyone's just kind of forgotten about El Conde, like that, because Chile didn't even submit that for international feature, so I was like, all right, whatever, they're not going to do anything with that. And then ASC happened, and they nominated El Conde. I'm like, oh, this is real. This is a real thing that they're doing. Okay. And the thing is, I believe El Conde is Bardo. I think it's Bardo. I think it is that movie where they, like, you know, they nominated an ASC, and it's like, oh, surely that can't repeat, and then it repeats. Like, why would the ASC nominate El Conde and not want to follow that up with an Oscar nomination? They will do something like that. It's going to get nominated. What it gets nominated over is going to be a mystery, because who knows what's going to happen. For me, it is between Maestro and Killers of the Flower Moon. And I've taken out Killers of the Flower Moon because, again, the fact that I'm not even putting it in for screenplay, I think that's definitely going to show some weakness for the film. And that might reflect in cinematography. Although it could be Maestro as well. Because I did say on Twitter, and people called me absolutely insane for this, but sometimes they will snub flashy cinematography. Like something, you know, like The Batman. Like Belfast, which people, I don't know, people, like, I would probably consider it a bit flashy. Like, it's one of those, like, every frame a painting kind of cinematography films. And then there's also Top Gun Maverick, which everyone thought was winning up until it got snubbed at the Oscars. So Maestro might just not get nominated here. It might not get nominated. But I don't know. The industry just hasn't really slowed down on Maestro. So I think, whereas right now I feel like the hype is kind of dying down for Killers of the Flower Moon. So yeah, that's kind of where what I'm thinking. Other maybes, Saltburn, I don't know. Barbie, I don't know. Right, like probably not those two. I think it is between this top 6. Because El Conde is just going to get nominated. Again, why would they nominate El Conde at the ASC if they aren't going to follow that up with an Oscar nomination. I feel like it is Bardo. It is like El Conde is straight up just Bardo. What's going to take out? I don't know. Like I said, it's either going to be Maestro or Killers of the Flower Moon, and I'm thinking it's going to be Killers. Although maybe it might be Maestro because they did like sometimes the Oscars will snub films that kind of have like this kind of flashy cinematography where like the aspect ratios change as the times change, like the time period changes, like Steve Jobs, like The Five Bloods, like Blonde, which have that kind of cinematography in it, and one could argue was cinematography worthy, but they still snubbed those. That might happen with Maestro, but again, because of the overall weakness of that, I'm thinking maybe Killers of the Flower Moon is setting itself up to be at least a slight weakness. I think it might get out of cinematography. Film editing. This is where I'm going to put in Oppenheimer. It's going to win this. Whatever. Yeah. Zone of Interest. Anatomy of a Fall. I feel pretty confident in saying those are getting nominated. Killers of the Flower Moon. I feel like this would still get nominated here. It is a 3-hour movie, and yet it doesn't really... No, it's a 3.5 hour long movie. I don't know if it's 3.5 hours or if it's just 3 hours long. I don't know. But, regardless, it moves at a brisk pace, so yeah. And then I'm thinking The Holdovers gets film editing. I think it does get nominated here, because I don't know, Barbie and Air did get Critics' Choice, but I don't know. Especially since The Holdovers, I'm willing to bet, is going to get nominated for the Eddie Award for editing in a musical or comedy, and again. The Holdovers is doing pretty well for itself right now. It's getting that kind of hype, so they might want to put it in for film editing. But regardless, other potential contenders, maybe Barbie, maybe Air. I don't think Air is out of the conversation. Like, it is very showy editing, so that could happen. But I don't know. I think that 5th nomination is going to go to The Holdovers. And people are going to be shocked, like, what, Poor Things? You're snubbing Poor Things? I don't know. I feel like with so many big contenders and so many big Best Picture potential frontrunners, I think Poor Things might end up being Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it technically gets everything it needs, but then out of nowhere it just gets snubbed. I think that just might be happening for Poor Things. Unless Killers of the Flower Moon just manages to miss editing instead, and it's like, oh wow, okay, so Killers is really weak. So we'll have to see. And then Maestro, again, I think it's doing fine as is, but it's probably not going to get a nomination. Production design. Barbie, I think, is taking this. Barbie took Critics' Choice. It took the Critics' Choice for production design. But I think Poor Things is going to win the BAFTA. But even then, I feel like it's not good. I feel like Barbie's just going to be Black Panther, where it just wins production design anyway. Other contenders, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Oppenheimer. Again, very safe. I'm thinking the Zone of Interest. Actually, I'm very confident in saying that the Zone of Interest is going to get nominated for period film at the Art Directors Guild. I mean, good God, they did not even go for, like, the Art Directors Guild did not even go for The Color Purple. Not even The Color Purple. So it's like, what can I really say? Maybe Asteroid City? I mean, maybe I guess it'd be smarter. You know what? Okay, yeah, I'll put Asteroid City above The Color Purple because it does have more it at least got the Art Directors Guild Award. So really, it's like, what can I say? Really, it's like The Color Purple is just not happening. But again, this top 5 just makes so much sense. I don't know, I don't even know if Asteroid City is, it's probably not. Actually, well, I mean, great, I have it number 6, so I'm saying that it isn't going to get nominated for production design. So it's like, this top 6 just makes too much sense to me. So I think this is just going to happen. Alright, I returned from peeing, so let's continue. Costume design. Once again, I have Barbie winning this. Poor Things is going to win at BAFTA, but I don't care. It's going to win the Oscar here. But Poor Things is easily number 2. Killers of the Flower Moon, I think is still very safe for a nomination here. An unexpected contender since my last video. Napoleon. It's gotten nominated everywhere. Critics' Choice, Art Director, no, Costume Designers Guild, and BAFTA. I can't ignore that at this point. I can't ignore Napoleon. And if I'm not mistaken, this is once again the BAFTA 5, which it's a little bit scary, but I don't know what other alternatives. Because it's certainly not going to be the color purple. It's certainly not. That's not happening. Maestro, no. No, not Maestro. I mean, it got Costume Designers Guild, but it's like, are the costumes in that film really going to be enough to get a nomination? I don't think so. Wonka got Critics' Choice, but it also missed BAFTA. And I feel like it would need BAFTA to show up, and it didn't even get in the Costume Designers Guild. So once again, I kind of do have to just default to, like, Oppenheimer as number 5, which is, I never would have thought that because it's just, like, dudes in suits, but I guess it could be just, like, an Irishman situation where just, they love the movie that much, and they just want to nominate it for as many categories as they can. Makeup and hairstyling, sadly, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was not even shortlisted. I don't know why that happened. That's such an outrage. It deserves to win this category, and yet it didn't even get nominated. No, not even shortlisted. What the fuck? Why? Regardless, Maestro's winning. All right. Barbie won at Critics' Choice, but also Barbie did not get shortlisted here. It did not even get shortlisted. So Maestro, I think, just might take it here, unless Maestro is just doing so badly and then they just give it to Poor Things, which would be kind of weird. But also, another prediction that I feel very vindicated in. Golda. No one thought this was happening. But yet, since like way earlier in the year, I was like, all right, if Helen Mirren is really playing like this historical figure, and like she looks like this, how does the film not get nominated? And people were saying, well, no one's seen Golda. No one cares about Golda. You think people really like gave any shits over Coming to America with Eddie Murphy? Like the sequel? No? They don't care about the movie. They care if it actually has like a big achievement in makeup. And the Golda is just that. Now, granted, why they just didn't even shortlist Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I don't know. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Society of the Snow, I feel like that's also getting nominated here. I mean, like, you look at the injuries in that film, like the frostbite makeup, like, that's really good. So I think it does get nominated here. And then there's that 5th slot, which, admittedly, if I'm being honest, any one of these 6 could happen. But I'm going with Killers of the Flower Moon, because not only did it get nominated at BAFTA, I could maybe see this as like something like 1917, where like they're doing it for like the sheer amount of like even just smaller makeup on people or hairstyling. And with Killers of the Flower Moon, you could also make an argument that, you know, there's like a lot of like traditional Native American hairstyling going on, and they may want to honor that. Like, they usually don't go for just hairstyling, and I will admit that. Like, that's why I predicted Coming to America over West Side Story. But there's more of, I think there might be more of, like, a cultural thing for this, where it's like, oh, wow, like, they were really, like, true to, Native American, culture and stuff. And that's why I don't have Oppenheimer in, because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still not sold on Oppenheimer. Like, I look at the makeup around the end and it's like, it doesn't look that great. I mean, Oppenheimer, sure, he himself looks fine. A lot of the other older characters, I don't know, it looks like their hair was painted gray and it doesn't look right. I don't think the makeup branch is just going to nominate Oppenheimer for the sake of it. So, yeah. Beau is Afraid, there is an old Joaquin Phoenix, sure. Ferrari, sure. I don't know why Napoleon was in there. I'm not at the BAFTAs. I'm not exactly sure. Granted, I don't know. Maybe there's something in Napoleon that I'm just not seeing. And then a lot of people are probably going to want to say The Last Voyage of the Demeter. But the problem is, the horror genre is going to get in its way. There was a time, there was a time back in the good old days where the makeup branch would always nominate horror films. Hell, the first makeup Oscar ever given was for American Werewolf in London. And then other years, they gave it to The Fly, The Cell, The Wolfman. But for some reason in recent years, they just don't like horror anymore. They shortlisted Suspiria, but they didn't nominate it. They didn't shortlist It, It Chapter 1 from 2017, which, why would that not even, why would they not nominate that, let alone not shortlist it? That doesn't make any sense. And then they didn't even shortlist Candyman. So it's like, and they did shortlist Crimes of the Future, but they didn't nominate it. Instead, they went for the fifth slot, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So that makes me think, why are they going to go with The Last Voyage of the Demeter? Why are they going to want to go with that? Like, I'd be kind of shocked if they did that, because that, like, of all horror movies, why that film? Like, why? Why that one? If they didn't even want to do It, why would they do The Last Voyage of the Demeter? So I don't think that's happening. I think they're going to do Killers of the Flower Moon because, again, there's like a lot of, Native American characters, and they want to portray, like, the makeup and the hair as authentically as possible. So I think that's why we will see it in there and not Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer's makeup, I just can't see that getting a nomination. It's just not nomination worthy in my opinion. And then visual effects. Oh boy, this one is absolutely chaotic, and you're shocked as to why I have Society of the Snow at number 1. Listen, all right, let's talk about this whole race, because this race has been insane. Just absolutely insane. Like this past year, we were all under the assumption that Dune Part 2, it was going to win, and it's going to win Best Visual Effects at the Oscars, just not this year, because it got delayed. So, okay, what do we do here? Everyone then went to Oppenheimer. It's like, well, I mean, Oppenheimer is also in Best Picture, so let's do that. But I'm just like, okay, but you're not thinking like a visual effects artist. Like, would they even nominate Oppenheimer? And then sure enough, the shortlist came out. No, the 20 film shortlist came out, and I was right. Like, this whole time, I was like, Oppenheimer's not going to get nominated. Like, I think in, like, my first visual effects predictions, I did put Oppenheimer in, but that was because, like, we barely had any kind of trailer or anything like that, and we didn't know the actual anything. We didn't really know anything about Oppenheimer at the time. But the moment I heard about what kind of visual effects it does have, and how comparatively small of a visual effects team it had, and not only that the film only has the film literally had less visual effects shots than both Welcome to Chechnya and Mank, and yet those two also got snubbed, and they came out in a year, like, the single worst year for visual effects conceivable, because, like, everything got pushed that year. Like, Dune was gone, Free Guy was gone, No Time to Die was gone, Eternals was gone, Black Widow was gone, everything was Godzilla vs. Kong, all of it, Jungle Cruise, all of it gone, just not happening. So, it was so much so to where I literally just call that year the asterisk year for visual effects, because, yeah, you saw movies like Mulan and Tenet get nominated, but they would never have been nominated in a normal year for visual effects. They just wouldn't have. So, what am I getting at there? Oppenheimer had less visual effects shots than both Mank and Welcome to Chechnya, and despite them coming out in the worst year for visual effects, where there was barely any competition, they still got snubbed. So with that in mind, I was like, Oppenheimer's just not going to get nominated. And sure enough, I was right when no one else thought I was, but I turned out to be much more right than I thought I was going to be, because they did not even shortlist it in the top 20. But more shockingly, Little Mermaid also didn't get in, so I was like, Wait, but Little Mermaid was so clearly a big contender that could have actually gotten in. Like, why? Why did you not put in the Little Mermaid? Like, you picked Naiad and the boys in the boat over Little Mermaid? What? And so now we're here with some unexpected contenders like Society of the Snow, Napoleon, Godzilla -1, which we didn't even know this movie even existed up to the beginning of this year. Poor Things I didn't see coming. And again, I still only think it got shortlisted here because it is a late releasing Best Picture nominee, and maybe the visual effects branch hadn't seen it yet, so it's like, okay, well, if we put it in the Bake Off, they will be able to see what kind of visual effects it has. Much like, how like The Shape of Water did that. And also, I think that's also probably why Rebel Moon got in. Which, granted, it's not a Best Picture contender, but it's a visual effects film of some sorts, releasing in late December. And sure enough, granted, I saw the movie and it's like, oh, like, it's not getting nominated. No. So, where does that leave us here? Well, admittedly, this race could go so many ways. I don't know what's winning for sure. But let's just take a look at some of these one by one. But I'm going to go 10 through 1 this time. I'm going to go 10 through 1, explaining gradually why some of these won't get nominated as to the one, and as I go up, which ones are more likely, and why I've come to the conclusion that I think Society of the Snow is number 1. Because this is going to be a doozy, alright? This is going to be a big doozy right here. This is going to be a big doozy of a category. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Absolutely not. The visual effects are very hit or miss for that film, and it's very abundant that it only got shortlisted because it was a late December release. Because, like, if this came out in, like, March or summer, absolutely no way it would have gotten in the shortlist. No way. So, yeah. Poor Things, I have it at number 9. A lot of people are going to have this at number 1 because it is in Best Picture. And I would say, if I believed it was getting nominated, I would put it at number 1. The problem is, and this is the same logic I had with Oppenheimer, the problem is I can't see this actually getting nominated. This is just not the kind of film that the visual effects branch would nominate in visual effects. They just wouldn't do that. Because Poor Things, its visual effects, from everything I could find about the visual effects in that film, everything is so meticulous in its art direction that I feel like that's what people are latching onto when they see the visual effects in this film. And people are saying things are CG when they aren't really CG. For example, there's like some of the weird animal hybrids. Like there's like this duck with a dog's head, or this dog with a duck's head, or something like that. And and people are going, oh wow, that's CG. That's not CG. What they did with those animals was that they have real animals, but they just green screened the heads of other animals onto those other animals' bodies. And when you actually look at the shots, like there's that one shot of like Emma Stone going bah bah, walking with the duck dog creature. And it's very meticulous. The camera movement is very, very, like, I don't want to say still, but it's very, very smooth and very deliberate. And not only that, the scene is in black and white. Now, what does this mean? All that tells me. Sorry, I'm just looking at my pets over there. What that tells me is that the visual effects are pretty simple in Poor Things. They're nothing too complicated, because again, you want green screening an animal's head onto the body of another animal. When doing it like this, in the grand scheme of visual effects, that's not really the most difficult thing to accomplish. It's just not. Especially if the camera is locked off and not trying to be all that showy, and they're doing it in black and white, meaning they're dealing with less color values. It's not a groundbreaking achievement in visual effects. It's just not. And the fact that it didn't even get anything at Visual Effects Society is very telling, considering this movie is very well known. Like, unlike All Quiet on the Western Front, which took a while to get going, everyone knows about Poor Things. So why would the Visual Effects Society completely ignore this? Well, they probably ignored it because they saw the visual effects and were like, that's not really all that impressive to me. It's not innovative. It's not pushing the medium forward. So, yeah. And then at number 8, I have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Apparently they changed the name from Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 to just Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Alright. A lot of people are comparing the effects in Mission Impossible to No Time to Die. But the problem is, I don't buy that. I saw the visual effects breakdown for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and I can tell you this. It's not No Time to Die. No Time to Die, especially when you look at like the visual effects breakdowns from Industrial Light and Magic and what was it called? And Framestore, they were doing insane stuff that I was like, oh my god, wait, that like basically almost entire scenes were like CG and I didn't even realize it. Like, it was kind of insane what they were doing in No Time to Die. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, the visual effects are very glossy. And it's very obvious when they are visual effects. Now, you know, for something like Marvel, something like Marvel is allowed to have visual effects that are kind of glossy, where it's like, yeah, you kind of know it's CGI. But at the same time, Marvel is doing shit that, like, is just completely unrealistic and just so far removed from reality to where it's like, all right, I can just accept it. Like, I kind of accept that we're living in CG land right here, and as long as it doesn't look absolutely garbage, like, you know, the last third of Black Panther, then fine, great, I can get into this. When you're doing something like the stuff they're doing in Mission Impossible, which is a little bit more grounded in reality, you can't really afford to have your visual effects look this glossy. Not today's, anyways. Like, if this was like maybe like 10 years ago, sure. But it's not 10 years ago. It's 10 years later. And when I'm looking at the effects in Mission Impossible, I'm like, it's not impressing me. It's just not. It's not No Time to Die. It's something else entirely. Like, it's just kind of generic Mission Impossible visual effects. And I think that's just what we're going to have right here. And so, that's why I don't think Mission Impossible is getting nominated. Godzilla -1. Initially, especially with my last predictions video, I was like, oh, like, granted, I hadn't seen Godzilla yet, but however, everyone was buzzing about the visual effects in Godzilla, and I think I saw the trailers and a couple clips online. I was like, all right, I'm getting into this. Like, these are some pretty cool effects for a film that has a budget of under $15 million. And then I saw the movie, and I was like, yeah, I don't think it's getting nominated. I just don't. Yeah, the budget is like less than $15 million, but there's many points in the film where it looks like a film that was made for less than $15 million. It just looks like that at times. Like, especially the Godzilla model itself, like, it doesn't look right. Like, I could practically see some of the pixels on that thing. And then there's like other weird choices with the virtual cinematography that make it look even more fake at times. Because, like, it's so weird. Godzilla -1 has effects that, like, sometimes they are so realistic looking, it's like, damn, this is amazing what they are doing here. With as small of a team as they had, and with a budget like this is unbelievable. But then again, there's other points in the film where it's like, all right, I can tell this was made with a small team, with a small budget. And look, kudos to them, but if I'm talking about the best visual effects of the year, no, I'm not gonna, it's like, I'd be giving it a pity award at that point. Which is disingenuous. So, I just started thinking, nope, it's not happening. It's just not happening with Godzilla -1. No. The narrative, I think, is just better than its effects. And the movie itself is better than its effects. It's been getting a lot of critics awards, but I've always said this, never, ever, ever, ever trust the critics when it comes to visual effects. Don't do it. They gave, the Critics' Choice Awards literally gave Black Panther the win for Best Visual Effects, despite the fact that the visual effects were the one thing the critics criticized about Black Panther. Now, granted, Critic Source did not nominate Godzilla Minus One for visual effects, but that's kind of my vibe. It's like I will trust a critic's opinion when it comes to like movies and stuff, but do I trust them in their judgment of visual effects? No, absolutely not. Like people generally go for what their favorite movie is in best visual effects, which I'll get to that later on when we're talking about like what I think is like in contention to win. But however, in this case, I can't say Godzilla Minus One is going to get a nomination because it's the effects. Someone on Twitter replied to me and put it perfectly. The effects in Godzilla Minus One are just too imperfect to nominate. For a film like this, they're just too imperfect. So, yeah. And then we get to number 6, Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny. I have it just outside. And a lot of people do have it in because it did get the top prize nomination in Visual Effects Society. However, one thing I noticed, it underperformed in nominations. It underperformed. Like, the only other, like, and what I mean by underperformed, for a movie that cost over $300 million, and it only got 2 nominations of Visual Effects Society? That's not good. That says something. Because, like, yeah, and this is kind of what I've noticed about the visual effects in Indiana Jones. The de-aging looks really good. Everything else is not so great. Like, there's times where, like, people look like, there's, like, CG people and they kind of look like they're rubber. And then there's that third act where that whole ancient city doesn't look all that good. Again, the imperfectness of the visual effects in Indiana Jones, I feel like would hold it back. And the fact that it only got 2 nominations, despite being a film that cost over $300 million, which, keep in mind, movies like Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, I mean, hell, if I'm not mistaken, I think even Avengers Age of Ultron got more nominations at Visual Effects Society than Indiana Jones. Yeah, Avengers Age of Ultron got more nominations than Napoleon did. And it didn't even get nominated for the top prize of Visual Effects Society that year. So it's like, no, not Napoleon, Indiana Jones. Fuck, I'm losing my mind here. Regardless, Indiana Jones, it underperformed in terms of nominations of the Visual Effects Society. Why would they do that if it's just not strong? I think they just put it in. I think it's kind of clear they probably just put it in. Like, the main category, outstanding visual effects in a photoreal feature, like the big top prize for like the big blockbusters, there's kind of a reason why why there was a lot of films that were it's just like, wait, what? Like they nominated Oppenheimer, which I don't even know why it's in this category because it should be, if they're gonna nominate it, despite the fact that they didn't even shortlist it at the Oscars, like why not put it in supporting visual effects? Because that's what they were. It's not a visual effects driven film. And then they had Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't know why they didn't even shortlist it here. They nominated it for the top prize at VES and nothing else. Literally nothing else. And then with Indiana Jones underperforming in nominations, I think this shows that the category as a whole is just weak. It's just weak. So, like, technically Indiana Jones got the nomination, but, like, did it really mean anything? Again, you have to look at the other nomination. You can't just look at the one category, like the top prize nomination that it got. You have to look at the other nominations. And the fact that it got only one other nomination, and that was for like the underwater environment, which even then, as you can watch it, it's clearly nowhere near contention of winning that category. It's just like, what do you do? Like, is it really going to be a thing? I just don't think Indiana Jones is going to be a thing. All right. Now let's get to number 5, to where, like, I actually do think these films are getting nominated. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I was wrong about Napoleon. When Napoleon showed up on the short list, I was like, why? Why are we doing this? You know, why? Like, Napoleon? Really? But then the visual effects breakdowns I saw from ILM and MPC just kind of proved to me, oh, yeah, this film had way more visual effects than you were thinking. Like, multiple shots that were practically entirely CG. and or even if they weren't entirely CG, blended together in such a way where it's like you don't realize you're not looking at CG. It's just like like Napoleon's visual effects are more like what I was saying with No Time to Die, which ironically enough, that was a film I also dismissed in terms of visual effects at the time, until I saw like some of the bigger breakdowns like from ILM and Framestore, and I was like, oh wait, these are the visual effects that are getting nominated? Okay, I was wrong. And I think that's just gonna be Napoleon. I think Napoleon is gonna get, I think it's gonna get that nomination. And it also got 2 nominations at Visual Effects Society, but at the same time, it didn't get nominated in the top prize category for Outstanding Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature. So, the fact that it got 2 nominations and it was in the supporting visual effects category, it's not as bad optics as Indiana Jones, which was like in the category for like the big blockbusters. And the other nomination that Napoleon got was for effects simulations. And already, I can see why. Because just generally speaking, it's just an effects simulations extravaganza. Because you got crowd simulations, you got cloth simulations for the flags, and the flags don't even look fake. They look 100% real. You have like some shots of like a burning city and all this destruction going on. Battle, like these battle simulations where it's like this huge armies. Like smoke simulations for the cannons and all that stuff, water simulations, breaking ice simulations. Like there's even this like some shots of like people like struggling to get up out of the icy water and back onto the ice, and it's like an under view shot where you're like under the water. And that shot was entirely CG, and it didn't look that way. It didn't look like it was CG. Which, again, is absolutely nuts. Like, I was wrong about Napoleon. I was wrong, alright? I will admit it. I'll take the L on this one. Napoleon has way better, more impressive visual effects than I initially gave it credit for. This kind of reminds me, whenever I talk about these, I need to see a breakdown. I need to see a breakdown, and if I can be proven wrong, then I'll take the L. I'll take the L. And this year, I will take the L on Napoleon. Napoleon is going to get nominated for Best Visual Effects. What they did was pretty impressive. At number 4 is a film that should arguably win Best Visual Effects. Although for me personally, it's kind of between 2 films like this. But regardless, The Creator. The Creator, there's an argument to be made that The Creator should win. And it probably, But the problem is that it's not really well liked, or like it's liked enough. And I think, like, here's the thing: if it were just the visual effects branch voting, The Creator would most assuredly win. The problem is the visual effects branch does not choose the winners. They do choose the nominees, which is why I do think The Creator is getting nominated, but they don't choose the winners. And so I don't see why The Creator would win when it comes to the general voting base, because it's not a very well-loved movie. It's like people at best think it's okay. So I think it's safe for a nomination, but it's not gonna win. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think, again, safe for a nomination. It got nominated everywhere, even at BAFTA, which I was kind of surprised over, considering the BAFTAs haven't nominated Marvel in the past couple of years. Oh boy, and then we get to the final 2. At number 2, I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and number 1, I have Society of the Snow. And you're probably thinking, are you absolutely out of your mind if you think the Society of the Snow is going to win? Look, I don't want Society of the Snow to win. I mean, I guess out of this shortlist, it would probably be number 5 for me. But, like, I don't want it to win. But why I do have it as number 1 is because I do think it gets nominated. Because it's kind of like because there's knocks against all the other films. As I explained, there's knocks against Indiana Jones. There's knocks against Godzilla -1. There's knocks against Mission Impossible. There's knocks against Poor Things. There's especially knocks against Rebel Moon. So with all those in mind that I just explained, I feel like Society of the Snow would get nominated as default. It would get nominated as default. And so why do I think it gets nominated? No, it wins over Spider-Verse. Admittedly, it's a coin flip. But I'm kind of scared because Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, it's for me, my personal winner would be between the creator and Spider-Verse. Because they were both kind of innovative in their own ways. Like, the creator had such incredible visual effects for like an $80 million budget. And yet Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, well, had a budget that was like, I don't know exactly how much the budget was for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Let me check. All right, the budget was between $100 and $150 million. But the thing with Spider-Verse, it pushed animated visual effects forward so much more than many films I've seen in recent years. Like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, is truly pushing the medium of animation itself forward in such a big way, and a lot of that comes from the visuals. It's innovative, it's imaginative, it's doing things that I've never seen before. So I think that would be an argument for why I would say it should win. Again, it's between that or the creator. And in terms of who wins, when you're thinking about who wins, you can't really think about the visual effects achievement itself. That it is how you should interpret what gets nominated, and that's why I have these 5 as my nominees. But when you're picking the winner, at least when you're not personally picking, like if you are personally picking, you should go by just the visual effects achievement and forget everything else. But in terms of predicting, you can't think like that. People don't really think like that. They don't really care about the visual effects achievement of them all, of it all. They care about what is their favorite movie in the category. The Oscars will typically go for what's in Best Picture, which is probably why a lot of people are thinking Poor Things is going to win. But the problem is, Poor Things is you can't think like a visual effects artist when you're nominating. You have to think like a visual effects artist. No, you have to think like a visual effects artist when you're nominating. I'm talking really bad here. You have to think like a visual effects artist when you're nominating, or when you're predicting the nominees. You have to think like a general voter when you're thinking about who wins. And so, with that in mind, because I do think Society of the Snow is going to get nominated by default, because all the other nominees, just nothing really all that impressive. It's like there's knocks against every film, from either them being like for example, like Poor Things not being a visual effects achievement, or other films like Indiana Jones, Godzilla -1, Mission Impossible, Rebel Moon. They're just not all that, they have very imperfect visual effects that don't really look all that amazing. So yeah, and then you have Society of the Snow, which is very reliable. It does do a very good job at extending the environments, creating crashes and stuff. They do a very good job at that. So I think it would get in by default. The reason why I think it wins is because, again, it is really a coin flip between Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Society of the Snow. I think it really depends on where is the passion going. Because one thing I'm kind of scared over is Spider-Verse not getting an original score nomination. I'm kind of scared of that happening, and I'm kind of predicting that happens. And already that would show that Society of the Snow has more nominations than Spider-Verse. That doesn't usually matter, but hear me out. Society of the Snow is also maybe second in line to win Best International Feature at the Oscars over The Zone of Interest. But again, it's not going to win over The Zone of Interest, but I'm saying it's number 2. All right, keep in mind, it's number 2. So you have one film, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is probably going to win a Best Animated Feature, and then you have the other film, Society of the Snow, which is number 2 to win Best International Film. So, with that in mind, it really does depend on where the passion is. Now, granted, people are watching Society of the Snow, and they're getting really emotional. And look, it's brand new. It's it's a film where people are just now kind of discovering and going, man, this movie's amazing. This movie's emotional. And what I fear is that would drive people to vote for Society of the Snow to win Best Visual Effects, because not only is it very strong in international feature, and it's probably also going to get makeup, and who knows, maybe score happens. Who knows? But I think because it might be technically a stronger Best Picture contender than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, it could win Best Visual Effects. Because when you're trying to predict who wins Best Visual Effects, you have to think about which film is in Best Picture. Because that's how you get movies like obviously, yeah, like Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune Part 1, they were nominated in Best Picture, so they won Best Visual Effects. But then you also have movies like 1917, which out of nowhere kind of won visual effects, despite the fact that it didn't win anything at Visual Effects Society, and it was probably, like, when you go by the Visual Effects Society stats, the least likely film to win. So with that in mind, but then there's other years where there's like there's no Best Picture nominees in Best Visual Effects. So when in those years, like the year that we're predicting right now, 2023, you have to go with what film is most likely to be nominated in Best Picture, if that makes sense. You have to go with what film sounds most likely to be nominated in Best Visual Effects. Because that's how you get winners like Tenet. That's how you get winners like First Man, Blade Runner 2049, Interstellar. Films that on the surface were not really seen to be like visual effects winners, but especially when you look at the Visual Effects Society awards, like all of these movies lost the top prize at Visual Effects Society to other movies. Tenet lost to The Midnight Sky. First Man, okay, it did win supporting visual effects of the Visual Effects Society, so you have to go with the other category that it got nominated in, which was compositing, and it lost that to Avengers Infinity War. And I'm pretty sure if it were between Avengers Infinity War and First Man at the Visual Effects Society, Infinity War would have won. But then, at the Visual Effects Society, War for the Planet of the Apes beat Blade Runner 2049. And with Interstellar at the Visual Effects Society Awards, it was beaten by Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But again, at the Oscars, they didn't go for the visual effects achievement. They went for the film that they felt was stronger in Best Picture. And with Society of the Snow getting in, because I feel like it's like, again, the default nominee, like it screws up the least amongst the other 5 nominees: Indiana Jones, Godzilla, Mission Impossible, Poor Things, Rebel Moon, or even not even just screwing up, just doing more things like innovating and stuff. Or again, it's doing more kind of innovation than Poor Things was. So, with that in mind, and the fact that Society of the Snow did make more shortlist mentions than Spider-Verse, like, it will be tough. If Spider-Verse does manage to get into Best Original Score, then we do have a race. But right now, I kind of fear that because Society of the Snow has that kind of recency bias, because it, is somewhat stronger in Best Picture than a lot of these other films, and it is contending for international feature, and it is contending for makeup, I feel like and I'm not saying this is fair, because it's not, I feel like Society of the Snow would win here. I feel like Society of the Snow might actually win, even though I would much prefer it to be Spider-Verse. Between these two, at least. But who knows? Either way, something's going to happen. Either Society of the Snow is going to win, and people are going to go, oh my god, like, this actually happened. And it would probably happen out of nowhere. Or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse also wins Best Visual Effects, or maybe Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse does win visual effects, and it becomes the first, like, animated film to ever win visual effects ever. I don't know. We'll have to see how the nominations go, and if these two get the same amount of nominations, it will be basically a coin flip. But right now, I don't know. I kind of fear Society of the Snow might be stronger. So yeah, that's the chaos. That's Best Visual Effects. I have not seen a race this insane ever in my life, but we will have to see. Anyways, Best Sound. Oppenheimer's winning. I don't know what to tell you. I think The Zone of Interest is probably number 2 at this point. Ferrari, it hasn't missed a beat anywhere, so I think it's going to get nominated. Maestro, Again, I think that's happening. Killers of the Flower Moon might happen, it might not happen. I don't know. Because Barbie did get nominated at the Cinema Audio Society, which is kind of strange, but I don't know if it's actually going to get nominated here. And Napoleon got the BAFTA nomination. So maybe that happens, but I don't know. My logic with Killers of the Flower Moon is that, like, you know, again, it's going to do pretty well in text. And also, Killers of the Flower Moon is going to get, there's like a whole radio play at the end of the film where it's basically just, you know, sound designer porn, where it's like there's lots of really good, it's basically just a showcase in sound design. So yeah, Mission Impossible, that got BAFTA, but I don't care, that's not happening. They don't nominate Mission Impossible. The Killer, no. Creator, no. Original score, this is tough. I think the top three is safe. Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon. Alright, cool. Then you have 4 and 5, which are very tough. A lot of people are wanting to go with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I would love that to happen. I want that to happen. But my logic is, if they didn't even go for Pinocchio, for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, why would they go for Spider-Verse here? I don't know. I'm not really betting on that. Like, I would love it to happen, and it technically did get everything it needed to get, but I'm too scared to say that it's going to happen, because we've been burned by Pinocchio before, and this film is kind of riskier in terms of its music, so I don't know if that actually happens. So I'm kind of thinking maybe the Zone of Interest gets to be number 4, and look, I know it hasn't really gotten anywhere, but never underestimate John Williams. I still have Indiana Jones at number 5. Like, yeah, he didn't get in at BAFTA, but you know what also didn't get in at BAFTA? The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi did not show up anywhere until the Oscars. So, I don't know. I don't want to say no to John Williams. I feel like he is just unstoppable. And so, I'm just gonna brace for impact, say Indiana Jones is gonna happen, which does keep Spider-Verse just out of the best picture conversation. Although again, who knows? Maybe Zone of Interest is out and Spider-Verse is in, but I don't know. Barbie, that did get Critics' Choice, but at this point, I don't know. Society of the Snow, this movie has a really freaking good day at the Oscar nominations, that could get in. That could happen. And if it does manage to get in, especially over Spider-Verse, actually, even if Spider-Verse got into Best Original Score, that would mean Society of the Snow has more nominations than Spider-Verse does, and I'd be very scared that it would win Best Visual Effects at that point. Other considerations, The Boy and the Heron, it got the Golden Globe nomination. I don't think it's really going to manifest into anything else. Elemental, Saltburn. I think Saltburn got the BAFTA nomination, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think that's happening. Color Purple, American Fiction, American Symphony, The Holdovers, you know the lot. Original song. Alright, this is tough. I don't know if I even really edited number 1 and number 2, because honestly, it kind of is a coin flip. Like, What Was I Made For won the Golden Globe, and I'm Just Ken won the Critics' Choice Award. So I don't know what happens. It's kind of a coin flip. I'm actually kind of wondering if What Was I Made For might actually win. I don't know. But then again, I don't know. But I really hope I'm Just Ken wins. Admittedly, I've been kind of goofing on What Was I Made For, but people seem to misunderstand. I don't actually think it's a bad song. It actually is a really good song. But I think I may have performed when it came to the reactions, but it's not a bad song. It's just, I think I'm Just Ken is just way better. So there's just that, but it's not, What Was I Made For is not a bad song. It's a really good song. Just leave me alone. All right. The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. For all this time, I thought the song was going to be 80 for Brady. I thought it was going to be the 80 for Brady song, but apparently that's not happening. It actually is Flamin' Hot. So I think it might be Flamin' Hot that gets nominated. And admittedly, it's not a bad song. I haven't listened to all these songs yet, so I have been wanting to do that. But yeah. Then we have Road to Freedom from Rustin. I mean, it's a civil rights song, so yeah, that's going to get nominated. And then It Never Went Away from American Symphony. I think that also gets nominated. It's also a very good song, so that could definitely happen. But I think American Symphony might be happening there. Wasaji from Killers of the Flower Moon. Who knows? Maybe they just want to go out with something kind of unique and go for that. But I don't know. Quiet Eyes from Past Lives. Who knows? Am I dreaming for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? Okay. Man, let's say it gets nominated here and Society of the Snow gets nominated for score. Man, then we would have two big contenders. If Spider-Verse did get nominated for original song and it had 4 nominations, overall it gets those 4 nominations over Society of the Snow, I think that would look pretty good for its visual effects chances. But whatever. Dance the Night from Barbie. I mean, I would love it if it got nominated, but there's that rule where it's like only 2 songs from a movie can get nominated for Best Original Song, so it's not going to get nominated. Keep It Moving from The Color Purple. Dear Alien Who Art in Heaven from Asteroid City. I actually wouldn't mind that, where it's like, Dear Alien Who Art in Heaven, green and skinny, just 6'7". God, it is a really goofy song. I kind of like that. Superpower 1 from The Color Purple. Can't Catch Me Now from The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. High Life from Flora and Son, and Meet in the Middle from Flora and Son. I don't know. I think it might really just be between the top 9, even though I don't really think Dance of the Night's happening. Animated feature. Alright, this is also kind of tough. The top 4, easy, lemon squeezy. Alright, Spider-Verse, Boy and the Heron. Admittedly, it is a race between those two. Because Boy and the Heron won at Critics' Choice. No, Boy and the Heron won at the Golden Globes. Spider-Verse won at Critics' Choice. I'm thinking Boy and the Heron takes the BAFTA. Not like the BAFTA. But I still think Spider-Verse is just going to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. I think it's just going to win. Nimona, surprisingly, I'm putting it at number 3, mainly because it's gotten, it has the most Annie Award nominations this year. So it's very strong. And then number 4, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Seth Rogen's going to get his first Oscar nomination, and I'm so happy. Then there's that 5th slot. And funny enough, I don't think any of them are going to be I don't think it's going to be Elemental. I'm still sticking with that. I've been saying Elemental is just not good enough to be nominated. And then, sure, it got Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, PGA, and BAFTA, which on paper that sounds great, but it did not get the Annie nomination. This was the first time ever in Annie's history where a top prize nomination was not given to a Disney film. That is alarming. Just boing, boing, like that. Like, you have to go in with the assumption that Elemental is weak. Even if you have Elemental in your top 5, you cannot say it is any higher than 5. Because the animation community finds this to be a weak movie. And I've always said this. I've said it again. I've said it once and I will say it again. There is a long-standing stat. In the past 10 years, the Oscars have not nominated a Disney film for Best Animated Feature that had low 80s or less on Rotten Tomatoes. All right? You look at Monsters University. Everyone thought that was going to get nominated in a weak year for animation, and that just got snubbed. They snubbed it. The Good Dinosaur, that got snubbed. What was it? Cars 3, also kind of a weak year for animated movies. That also did not amount to anything. It did not get nominated. Frozen 2 got everything it needed. And it got Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, PGA, Annie, BAFTA. And it was a later release, and it became the second highest grossing animated film of all time. So there was no way it was going to miss until it did, and it lost a nomination out in favor of Klaus. That shows, but again, you look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores for those movies, people did not fall in love with those movies. They were like, all right, at best, it's good. At least from what they're saying, it's good. It's not great, and at least from the Oscars point of view, they're like, we can nominate better movies, and even movies that you would swear didn't have that kind of praise, where it's like high 80s or above, they still did, like Ralph Breaks the Internet and Onward. Even, like, they were widely praised movies. Elemental is just not that. So immediately that makes it weak. And the fact that it got snubbed at the Annies is a big sign. Now, what does get that nomination is a bit up in the air. I currently have Chicken Run done on the Nugget because the Oscars will nominate they will nominate Aardman a lot. Like, even when the BAFTAs don't. Like, the BAFTAs did nominate Chicken Run, but the Oscars will nominate Aardman movies that the BAFTAs don't. Like the Pirates Band of Misfits. And even then, when you look at the reviews for Chicken Run, they are still better than that of Elemental. And also, it's not Disney, so I guess the high 80s stat doesn't have to apply with this one. But still, the reviews are just better than Elemental. And the fact that the Oscars will nominate Aardman films that even the BAFTAs don't nominate, that's a very telling sign. And it's not that the BAFTAs nominated Chicken Run because it was British, because they didn't they did not nominate the Pirates Band of Misfits, which got the Oscar nomination, but they didn't even nominate Early Man, which also did not get the Oscar nomination. But still, they did not go for Early Man. So clearly they didn't just nominate Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget because it was British. There still does seem to be a passion for that film. And I think that's what gets the nomination. Now, it could be Suzume, it could be Robot Dreams, but that's not really where I'm most concerned right now. I'm more, my main goal here is to be proven right that Disney will get shut out of the Oscars this year for Best Animated Feature. Because, they've not been on their A game this year. They just have not been on their A game. And on their 100th anniversary, no less. How bad would it be, optics-wise, for on their 100th anniversary, Disney gets shut out of the Best Animated Feature race? I could see that happening. I think it's gonna happen. Whether or not it's Chicken Run, Suzume, or Robot Dreams that gets that 5th slot, I don't really care. I just think my main thing is that Disney's just not gonna get it this year. It's just not. So there's that. And then there's the Super Mario Brothers movie, which it's at number 9. I only put it in because it got Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, and PGA. It's not happening at the Oscars. For the love of God, don't let that happen at the Oscars. God, Mario, why? Anyways, and then the last category, because, look, let's face it, I don't know anything about the short films, okay? I know nothing about them. Hold on. Oops, that's a bold-faced lie, because I have the documentary feature category to also cover. But regardless, international feature, Zone of Interest, winning. Society of the Snow, nominated. Fallen Leaves, I guess it's being nominated now. One thing I feel very vindicated over, though, is 20 Days in Mariupol. Oh my God, it got the BAFTA nomination, and I've been saying, since a couple months ago, when, one person at Next Best Picture had it in their top 10. People were just saying, no, 20 Days in Mariupol is not happening. No way it's happening. Absolutely not. And then, sure enough, the BAFTA's nominated for Best Film Not in the English Language, and oh boy, I feel vindicated. This whole time I've been saying, 20 Days in Mariupol, I don't know, it's Ukraine's submission for the Best International Feature category, and it is once again covering the ongoing war between them and Russia. It sounds so much like a nomination coming, and sure enough, I might be right, and I might be very justified in that. And so I'm very happy to have gotten this. I mean, who knows what will happen? But I'm still thinking it happens. And then that 5th slot is interesting. Because if I'm not mistaken, Perfect Days did not even get long-listed at the BAFTAs. Which is kind of interesting. You could go with The Taste of Things. You could go with The Teacher's Lounge. But I'm going with The Monk and the Gun because I think that was the same director of Ulyana, A Yak in the Classroom, which no one saw coming, and I think maybe that just happens here. Maybe that just happens. I don't know. I'm not as knowledgeable about this as some of the other categories, but I don't know. It could be Taste of Things or Teacher's Lounge or $4. And then others in order, I have The Promised Land, El Capitano, Totem, The Mother of All Lies, Americazzi, and Godland. But right now I'm kind of going with The Monk and the Gun, but who knows. I'm just very glad that I'm probably going to be getting 20 Days in Mariupol correct, because I've been saying this is going to be happening for a long time. And fellas, after 2 hours, my God. Oh wait, no. Oopsies. I forgot. Documentary feature. Oh, oops. Yeah. Honestly, I think 20 Days in Mariupol is going to win. It's looking pretty good. Especially if it gets nominated for international feature. That's going to, because I don't really see what else could really beat. There is also Beyond Utopia, which is possible. But I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of thinking Mariupol is going to get in. And then I have Beyond Utopia, Four Daughters, Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni Project, and The Eternal Memory. I don't think American Symphony is going to get nominated. Bobby Wine, The People's President, maybe that happens, I don't know. Even though it's gotten everything, I don't know. Still, a Michael J. Fox documentary just sounds too much like a frontrunner, and you do not want to be a frontrunner for best documentary feature. Now watch, it gets nominated because everyone's been expecting it to get snubbed, and then it sure turns out, oh wait, no, it is just gonna, because if it does get nominated, then I guess still a Michael J. Fox documentary would probably win. But the problem is, it just sounds way too much like a frontrunner. Again, I even made a joke saying, oh yeah, whatever is going to win at Critics' Choice over at the the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, you can immediately say that's not going to get nominated. And then they chose still a Michael J. Fox documentary. And it's like, wait, but that was too easy. I wasn't expecting that to get nominated anyway. And I don't know. There is a part of me that thinks it's too safe to assume still a Michael J. Fox documentary will be snubbed. It feels too safe to assume that. But that's just kind of where I'm thinking right now. Because if it does win, if it doesn't get nominated, it probably will win. But the documentary branch does not really like going for portrait films where it's like a portrait of a person. So there's that. Then, from 9 to 15, I have Apollonia, Stand From the Beginning, 32 Second, A Still Small Voice, Desperate Souls, Dark City, and The Legend of Midnight Cowboy, To Kill a Tiger, and In the Rear View. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's really kind of between those 8, I'm assuming. So, yeah, I'm thinking 20 Days in Mariupol wins here. But, fellas, after over 2 hours, now I can finally say it, we have reached the conclusion of this video. These are my final Oscar predictions. It is done. These are I'm gonna stick with these. Let's see how they go. But man, oh man, here we are. The Oscar nominations are coming this Tuesday, and I will give you my reactions. And then a week after that, I will give you my winner predictions. So yeah, guys, my God, it's almost here. The Oscar nominations are almost here. And so, after all this time, now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your final Oscar predictions? That's what I'm going to be asking you. Let me know in the comments what you think, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, no one's ever going to predict you for any Oscars.